Okay, so I thought that whilst I'm convalescing from whatever form of allergy is currently afflicting me, that I'd make a video about some of my favourite bodybuilders through the years, and who better to start with than the legendary Steve Reeves. Steve Reeves was born in 1926 in Montana, later moving to California with his mother after his father died when he was just 10 years old. He first took an interest in bodybuilding whenever he was at high school, but it wasn't until he left the army that he won his first bodybuilding competition, the 1946 Mr. Pacific Coast, beating Clancy Ross, who would later go on to become Mr. America. In 1947, Reeves won both the Mr. Western America and Mr. America, beating, amongst others, George Eiferman, Alan Stefan and John Grimmick. He would go on to win the 1948 Mr. World and finish second to John Grimmick in both the Mr. USA and Mr. Universe in the same year. It was in 1950, however, that Reeves would win what was considered at the time to be the premier bodybuilding contest, the Mr. Universe, where he beat another legendary bodybuilder, Reg Park. Reeves retired from bodybuilding in 1950 and went on to pursue an acting career where he made a name for himself, starring in Italian-made sword and sandal movies like Hercules and Goliath, and would become at one point the highest paid actor in Europe. What I like most about bodybuilders of this era, and Steve Reeves in particular, is that their physiques were exquisitely balanced. Yeah, they carried more body fat than modern era bodybuilders do, but you couldn't exactly call them fat. And they certainly never had to do any sort of questionable dieting to get to that level of body fat or to maintain it. They accomplished their physiques by literally embracing the culture of physicality, and that's why in those days it wasn't typically referred to as bodybuilding but as physical culture. I also think that bodybuilders like Reeves are better role models for young people today, precisely because they never had to go to any extremes to achieve their signature looks. There was no need to take copious amounts of performance-enhancing drugs or go on extreme diets. They simply just ate a clean balanced diet as best they could, which at the time wasn't easy, and exercised with a combination of weights, cardio and skills-based training, because in those days you had to have a skill as well as just posing to enter body when you entered a bodybuilding competition, and the physique followed on from there. Next up would be Sergio Oliva. Oliva is regarded by many to be one of the best bodybuilders of all time. He was born in Cuba in 1941 before moving to the United States in 1962. I believe he was a refugee whenever he moved to the United States as well. After he moved to the States, he transitioned from weightlifting that he'd been doing in Cuba to bodybuilding, and he won his first American bodybuilding competition, which was Mr. Chicagoland, which sounds like a musical. He did that in 1963. He won 2 more bodybuilding contests the same year, Mr. Illinois and Mr. Midwest. In 1964, Sergio won both the Mr. North America and Mr. World and placed second to the great Harold Poole in the Mr. America. The following year, he would go on to defeat 2 other legends, Chet Yorton and Dave Draper, in the amateur division of the Mr. Universe. Then, in 1966, Oliva took the top spot in the professional class of the Mr. Universe, where he beat Chuck Sipes, and the man who just the year before had won the inaugural Mr. Olympia. That was Larry Scott. 1 year later, in 1967, Oliva would win the first of his 3 Olympia titles, beating out Chuck Sipes, Harold Poole and Dave Draper. His physique was so dominant that year that when he announced his intention to defend his crown the next year, all the would-be competitors dropped out. Sergio won his 3rd and final Mr. Olympia title in 1969 when he beat an ascent Arnold Schwarzenegger, the only person to beat Arnold on the Olympia stage. Oliva's physique was somewhat unique in that he was what would have been considered at the time a mass monster, but he retained a more aesthetic look that we today traditionally associate with frames carrying less muscle. What I believe made Sergio's physique so appealing was the combination of small joints and crazy full muscle bellies. The smaller joints helped to preserve the athletic look, whilst giving him his signature V-taper and incredible legs, earning him the moniker The Myth. Anyway, that's going to do it for the video here today. Just my sort of thoughts and ramblings on a couple of who I consider to be a couple of the greatest bodybuilders ever to live. If you would like more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make some more videos started looking at bodybuilders through the years. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. If you've liked the video, again, likes, comments, shares, subscribes, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.